Good morning, all. Right, so we continue in this conversation, right? And we continue the conversation of looking at the Quran and looking at both good and evil within the book, which I recommend that every religion do, right? Sit with your religious text and hey, go through it. Come online and teach and say, hey, this is the good in my religion and I respect it, and this is the evil in my religion and I disrespect it, right? So is a recommendation for everybody to do, right? So verse 1, Surah 9, we're still on the conversation on monotheism, right? And Surah 9, 1, this is a declaration of disassociation, right? Um, Coming from Allah and his messengers to those of you who have made a treaty among the polytheists, right? So it's basically saying you separate yourself from those who worship idols, right? Separating yourself mentally, whatever it is, from people who worship idols. That's one, right? Because worshiping of idols is considered shirk or sin in Islam, right? Now that's fine, that's all well and good. We move on to 5, Surah 9, verse 5, right? And when the inviolable months have passed, then kill the polytheists wherever you find them and capture them and besiege them. Look at the evil existing inside this book. Look at the inherent evil. Look at the evil. Look at the evil existing within this book, right? If you want to say, hey, everybody should be monotheist, then you come online or you go in a gathering, right? And you speak the truth. You go in a gathering and you speak the truth, right? You don't come and say capture and besiege and kind of thing. You spread the message by coming online and sharing the truth, or going in a gathering physically and sharing the truth, right? You don't no good person on the face of the planet could come online and go anywhere and say and watch and read this book and say, hey, this is of God, or this is of some kind of goodness, right? Nobody on the face of the planet could watch that verse, right? No individual on the face of the planet could watch that verse and tell me that is something from God, right? Or that is something from the divine source. It is not, and it will never be. It never was, will never be, right? And that is why I'm calling on people, right? Two, you could teach the principle of monotheism, right? Teach the principle of monotheism without believing in this nonsense that you need to capture, besiege, all kind of shit, right? Like what was done in the past that they try to repeat in today's society, right? So this is what we are aiming to do, right? Teach people a lesson where these things are concerned, right? There's a way to communicate knowledge. You don't need to capture, besiege, hold anybody ransom, right? What you need to do is go in a gathering, right? Go in a gathering and preach and say, hey, monotheism is the right way of living, so that your voice, your mouth, your voice reaches a larger crowd, right? Not physically capture, besiege, or mentally or psychologically besiege or capture or torture anybody, right? So that's that, right? So it's still on the topic of monotheism, where you should not worship any god beside Allah, right? You should not worship no deity, no god besides Allah itself, right? So we continue in this topic, right? And the topic is on repentance, right? Topic is on repentance, meaning that, hey, if you were doing this before, you just need to say, well, God, I am sorry for doing this, because most people have done this without knowledge that, hey, you're not supposed to be worshiping a human on earth, right? Which is what people refer to as a God on earth. You're not supposed to be referring to that, right? So all people have to do is say, well, Allah, I apologize for worshiping other beings on earth, right? Other than you, Allah itself, yourself, right? So that's all really is. No need to capture, besiege, hold anybody ransom, chain anybody physically, mentally, nothing like that, right? The sin is not so great. The sin is not so great. The shirk is not so great, right? Trust when I say this. The shirk is not that great. However, when it comes to the awareness that, hey, this is that, well, yeah, well, you say, hey, well, I really don't want to be worshiping this person, right? I really don't want to be worshiping this person, right? Good. So we move on to another, the same conversation, because we need to get this point across. And like I said, there's no need to be concerned, because the shirk is not so great as some of the evils that are being carried out in the world: human trafficking, pedophilia, right? Child ritual abuse, torture, rape, murder, crime, right? The shirk of polytheism is not as great as those types of sin. However, it is a very great sin once you come into the awareness of this fact and you choose to persist in doing that sort of worship, right? So we'll continue this conversation.